Hey folks, welcome back to the Advent of Code 2021 series. In the last video, we took a look at day one. I think it was called, I kind of forgot. Yeah, Sonar Sweep. Well, now we're working with day two, and it's called Dive. So just before we get into the problem, like as usual, I have increased the size of my editor now, so it should be a bit more cleaner, easy to read. I'm just going to create a template for day two. So I'm going to copy my template folder and rename it to day two. Everything else is set as it is. I'm just going to change the test name and call it day two dive. Awesome. Now let's go back to reading. Actually, let's run the project once. npm run t npm t 2021 day two. And I mean, it should pass because input length is 0. Now let's get back to the question. Now you need to figure out how to pilot this thing. By this thing, I think they mean the submarine. That's what we were talking about the last question. It seems like the submarine can take a series of commands like forward 1, down 2, or up 3. Forward of x increases the horizontal position by x units. Down x increases the depth by x units. So it doesn't really decrease like down suggests, it increases, right? That's an important distinction. Up of x decreases the depth by x units. Note that since you're on a submarine, down and up affect your depth. And so they have the opposite result. Submarine seems to have already have a planned course, your puzzle input. So let's take a look at the puzzle input. And yeah, it sort of looks like a bunch of forward, up, and down. So I'm just going to copy this as my sample input right here, and this as my main input. Awesome. So now if I were to run the test, it should fail. Okay, that sounds good. Now let's go back to the question. So for example, we have the sample input. Your horizontal position and depth both start at 0. The steps above would then modify them as follows. Forward 5 adds 5 to your horizontal position, a total of 5. Down adds 5 to your depth, resulting in a value of 5. Forward 8 adds 8 to your horizontal position, a total of 13. Up decreases your depth. So basically we have 3 variables that we need to handle: the position, depth, and just 2. We just have 2 variables, position and depth. And we have 3 different commands that we need to look for. That's forward, down, and up. So after following these instructions, you would have a horizontal position of 15 and a depth of 10. Multiplying these together produces 150, and I believe that's the answer that we're looking for. So part 1, I'm gonna set the answer to 150 for the sample. Calculate the horizontal position and depth. You would have, after the following planned course, what do you get if you multiply the final horizontal position by your final depth? And yeah, exactly. We need to multiply the position and depth once it's completely done. So let's get down to the code. So we should be here. I am going to just comment out the other tests for now and keep only part 1 of sample. So we can just work with our sample code. I'm gonna return input.length so that TypeScript doesn't error out. And so basically this is our input, right? We have forward 5, down 5, forward 8, and they're all in different lines. So obviously the first thing I might need to do is just split them by lines. So let's start processing our input. I'm going to create a new variable called instructions. And instructions is basically going to split my input by the new line character. So now I would have an array of instructions, and each instruction would have forward space 5, down space 5, forward space 8, and so on. Now I can go through each one of those items. Let me loop. So we have an array, so I think the best way to just loop through would be instructions dot. What do I need? I basically need to create a variable as well. So let's create let position and depth equals 0. So this would set my values, position and depth, and now I can go through the instructions variable. So let's say instructions.forEach, I think that's okay. And we would have an individual instruction. In an individual instruction, I would need to split them by the space character. So I'd get forward and then this number right here. So let's do that. We'll split by command and value. So instruction dot split of split by space. So this would return an array, two-item array, and we're destructuring that array immediately using ES6 syntax. So I'm calling that the first value command, first variable command, and the second variable value. But value at this moment would still be a string. We need to make sure that value is converted into an array. Sorry, a number. So let's do that. Let's set. All right, okay, we can do that later. Let's call it let value equals number of value, and this would update value into a number. Now to go through each command and figure out what it does, and then do the arithmetic. So if command is equal to forward, then we need to update position. So position would be plus equals value, right? And we need to make position a let again instead of a const. So I believe TypeScript doesn't really allow this, so I would need to convert this into a number. Can I do this instead? No. All right, that's all right. I can just create a new const called value num and convert that into a number, and then I need to just pass this. Or instead of doing that, I can just parse the value right here. So a number of value, and we should be updating position as expected. Now forward is taken care of. Let's take a look at the other commands. Command equals up, I guess, or maybe down first. So down, as per the question, we would need to increase depth. So depth plus equals number of value. And finally, got the if right here. Finally, if command is equal to up, I could just say else, but then it's just good to cover all your cases. Depth minus equals number of value. Now it's still erroring because depth is a const. If we convert that to a let, that should be all right. And now finally, I should have the values position and depth. Once this is over, all I need to do is multiply position into depth. Let's run the test, and the sample one should pass. That's about it for part one. Let's take a look at the actual input and see if see what answer we're getting. Did we? Oh, forgot to save the file. All right. Let's run it, and okay, we got the answer 2147104. Okay, let's put in the answer, and it's correct. Awesome. Now we can just update our test to also match the answer, make sure the test pass, and continue to part 2. So let's take a look at part 2. Based on your calculations, the planned course doesn't seem to make any sense. You find the submarine manual and discover that the process is actually slightly more complicated. In addition to horizontal position and depth, you'll also need to track a third value, aim. So I believe all we need to do is, not all, but another thing that we need to do is create a new variable to track called aim, which also starts from 0. I mean, let's sort of, read the question. The commands also mean something entirely different than you first thought. Down increases your aim by x units. Up decreases your aim by x units, all right. Forward does two things. It increases your horizontal position by x units, like it did the last time. It also increases your depth by your aim multiplied by x. So we have forward x. We need to multiply x into aim to increase our depth. So we still have depth. All right. So forward 5 adds 5 to your horizontal position, a total of 5 because your aim is 0. Your depth does not change. Okay. Down 5 adds 5 to your aim, resulting in a value of 5. Forward 8 adds 8 to your horizontal position, a total of 13, because your aim is 5 and your depth. So 13, 8 plus 5 is 13. We got that. Because your aim is 5, your depth increases by the value of aim and x. So x into 5, 8 into 5 is 40. Got it. So we need to basically add this value to depth. All right, let's do this then. I think we can go about doing something very similar to this. Let's copy everything because I think it's just really similar. Let's add in our sample input as well. So the input that they're expecting for the sample is 900. So 900 is the answer. Let's go back. And what we need here is basically another variable called let aim equals 0. Now, going through each of the instructions again, we're doing the instruction.split, getting the command number. What we need to do here is if it's down, we would need to increase our aim. So if it's down, I'm increasing our aim, and if it's up, I'm decreasing our aim. And if it's forward, does two things. It increases your horizontal position by x, which we're already doing right here. And it increases your depth by your aim multiplied by x. So we need depth into aim multiplied by the value. So I think this, once this calculation is done, it'll get added to depth. So I think this should probably get the answer. And then finally, to get the answer, we would need to multiply position and depth once again, which we're already doing. Let's see if part 2 sample works. And yeah, looks like part 2 sample has also passed. Let's add in the input, the actual input, and see it fail because 2 equals will be 0. And this is our answer. So let's input our answer and check if we're actually correct. And we are. Let's update our test with the correct answer and make sure they pass. So that's it for day 2 dive. Tomorrow we would take a look at day 3. Thanks for watching, and please let me know what do you think about the series and if there's anything you would like me to change. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.